In a waiting room. Your name's about to be called for a job interview. You've practiced your answers a million times. You know this stuff cold. And then your name's called. You stand up, you shake hands, and they ask you to tell them a little bit about yourself. And suddenly, the words that were so easy 5 minutes ago won't come out. Your chest tightens, your throat locks, and the harder you push, the worse it gets. If you've ever experienced that, this video is for you. Because today, we're going to answer the question that almost nobody explains properly. Why does stuttering get so much worse under pressure? And more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Welcome to the Total Fluency channel, the place where we talk honestly about stuttering, fluency, and what it actually takes to speak with confidence in real life. If you're new here, hello and welcome. This channel exists because millions of people who stutter are given either no guidance or guidance that's so clinical and cold it doesn't connect to their actual daily experience. We're trying to change that, and today's topic is one of the most requested things we get asked about. And I completely understand why, because the pattern is just so frustrating. You can be totally fluent at home, talking to your dog, singing in the shower, leaving a voice memo, and then you step into a high-stakes situation, a presentation, a first date, ordering at a busy restaurant, and it falls apart. It feels random, it feels unfair, and if you don't understand why it's happening, it's almost impossible to fix. So let's fix that. We're going to cover three things today. The neurological science of why pressure makes stuttering worse, the 5 highest risk situations and what they have in common, a practical evidence-based framework for managing each one. So let's get into it. To understand why stuttering spikes during pressure, we need to spend just a few minutes in the brain. So this is not going to be a neuroscience lecture, but this context is really important in understanding what is happening. And it's going to become life-changing once it clicks. So here's the core idea. Fluent speech is one of the most complex things that the human brain does. In a single second of natural conversation, the brain is coordinating breathing support, vocal fold vibration, tongue placement, lip movement, the semantics of what you're saying, and the syntax. This all has to be done simultaneously. Under normal, relaxed conditions, this works perfectly and beautifully. The speech motor system, centered primarily in the left hemisphere, in the area like the broadcast area, and the supplementary motor areas runs the process almost automatically, like a well-rehearsed orchestra. But here's what happens when pressure enters the picture. Your brain perceives it as a threat, not a physical threat, but a social threat. The fear of judgment, the fear of embarrassment, the fear of being seen struggling, and the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, fires. When the amygdala fires, it triggers the body's stress response. Cortisol and adrenaline flood the system, heart rate goes up, breathing becomes shallow and chest-based, muscle tension increases, including muscles involved in speech. And critically, the prefrontal cortex, which handles higher order control and fine motor coordination that fluent speech relies on, gets partially hijacked. Blood flows and cognitive resources shift towards survival-oriented processing. So basically the orchestra has lost its conductor. Now, for people who don't stutter, this is usually manageable. Their baseline speech motor system is stable enough to absorb some disruption and keep going. But for people who stutter, the speech motor system already has what researchers call reduced automaticity. It requires more conscious control to begin with. So when stress response hits that, then control becomes less available. The disruption becomes greater. So this is not a character flaw. This is not a weakness. This is neurological reality. And once you understand it that way, two things happen. One, the shame that starts as part of stuttering loosens because you understand that it's physiological, not failure. And two, you start to see exactly where in the chain you can intervene. And that's where the hope lies. But there's a second layer to this, and it's arguably even more important to understand. It's called the anticipatory loop, or the anticipation loop. And it's the reason why for so many people who stutter, the fear of stuttering actually causes more stuttering than the original neurological tendency ever would. So here's how it works. You have a speaking situation coming up. Let's say a team meeting, you'll need to give updates. So days before, or even just hours before, your brain starts running threat assessment. What if I block on my name? What if I can't get through the first sentence? Everybody will notice. It will be humiliating. This anticipatory anxiety elevates your baseline cortisol before you even open your mouth. By the time you're in the room, your stress response is already partially activated. You're starting the race from behind. And then, and this is the cruel part, if you do stutter, it confirms the fear. The brain logs it as evidence. The anticipation next time is even stronger, and the cycle begins. This is what researchers call the anticipatory struggle cycle. And it's one of the primary resources why stuttering tends to compound over time without intervention. Understand the cycle is step one. Breaking it is what we're going to talk about in part 3. The third piece of the neuroscience puzzle is physical, and it's the most immediately actionable. When stress response activates, muscle tension increases through the body, and the muscle most critical to speech, the larynx muscle around the vocal folds, the muscle around the tongue, the jaw, the lips, are no exception to this tension. Increased tension in these muscles is directly associated with the type of stuttering that feels most stuck. Blocks, where speech stops entirely and the person can't initiate a sound. These types of interruptions are strongly correlated with excess larynx tension. The vocal folds press together so tightly, air can't flow. Sound can't start. The good news is that the muscle tension is something we can work with directly. Breathing techniques, in particular, is the fastest lever we have. We'll get into the exact techniques in part 3, but first let's talk about the specific situations that trigger this whole cascade the most. Okay, so now you understand why. Let's talk about the where. Through both research and the experiences of the total Fluency users, we've identified 5 situations that consistently produce the highest level of speech-related anxiety, and therefore the highest likelihood of increased disfluency. I want to walk through each one, name them specifically, name what's specifically happening in each scenario, and then set up a framework for handling it. Number 1, phone calls. Phone calls are the number 1 reported anxiety speaking situations for people who stutter. And the reasons are actually kind of specific. First, there's no visual feedback. In face-to-face conversations, you can read the other person, you can see if they're patient or if they're curious or warmth. On the phone, you're flying blind. The brain fills in the void with the worst case assumptions. Second, silence sounds different on the phone. A 2-second pause in person is barely noticeable. On the phone, it feels like a dropped call or confusion, and the social pressure to fill it is intense. Third, phone calls are often high-pressured. Customer service, reservations, appointments. These interactions have an implied urgency that adds another layer of stress. And fourth, you often can't choose when they happen. An unexpected incoming call gives you zero preparation time. The result, the anticipatory loop fires hard, tension spikes, and even people with relatively mild stuttering reports significant difficulty on calls. Situation number 2, introductions. Hi, my name is... 3 words, the most rehearsed sentence in your life, and for many people who stutter, it's the hardest one to say. Why? Because your name is non-negotiable. You can't swap it out for an easier word. You can't rephrase it. It's hard starting point with no flexibility. And names often begin with sounds that are statistically harder. And these are plosives. Sounds like B's and P's and D's and T's, or certain word vowel initial sounds. For someone who tends to block or repeat, the name is a known minefield. The irony is that the awareness of the difficulty creates the difficulty. The moment you think, I always block on my name, the anticipatory loop is already running and you eventually block on your name. Situation 3, public speaking and presentations. Public speaking is the most commonly cited fear in the general population. And for those who stutter, it carries an extra weight. The key factor here is sustained performance. In conversation, the pressure ebbs and flows. In a presentation, you're continuously on, with all eyes on you for an extended period of time. There's also what I call the no exit feeling. In a conversation, you could theoretically change the subject, ask a question, hand it back to the person you're speaking to. In a presentation, the floor is yours and you have to hold it. The stress response loves a no exit feeling. It's exactly the kind of perceived trap the amygdala was designed to respond to, and the self-monitoring required, tracking your content, your pace, your audience's reaction, your own fluency simultaneously, overloads the cognitive resources that the speech motor control system relies on. Situation number 4, saying specific words. This one is underappreciated. Almost every person who stutters has a short list of words, sometimes 2 or 3, that feel like mountains. Words that have beaten them publicly before and now carry a history. It might be a job title, their company name, their colleague's name, a technical term they use every day. The word itself isn't harder to say, but the relationship with the word has changed. Every time it's coming, the anticipatory loop fires specifically for that word, and the tension that creates becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is one of the clearest demonstrations that the psychological component of stuttering is every bit as real and powerful as a neurological one. Situation number 5, authority figures and evaluative context. Job interviews, doctor's appointments, conversations with a boss or a professor or teacher, any situation where you feel you are being evaluated. This social threat is extraordinarily sensitive to hierarchy and judgment. When we perceive that someone has power over us, over our employment, our grade, our diagnosis, the stakes feel existential, and the brain responds accordingly. So research by Walden et al. And others shown that evaluative contexts produce measurable higher physiological arousal in people who stutter than neutral conversations. Even when the context of what's being said is identical. It's not what you're saying, it's who you're saying it to and what you believe is riding on it. So here's the important reframe though. This is adaptive. Your brain is trying to protect you. It's just using a threat response system designed for physical danger in the context that requires something more nuanced. And nuance, specifically the ability to modulate the stress response, is something that we can train. Part 3, the framework. Okay, this is a part I know you've been waiting for. We now understand why pressure makes stuttering worse. We know the 5 situations most likely to trigger it and what to actually do about it. I want to give you a 3-layer framework. I think think of it as 3 lines of defense. Things you can do before, during, and after a high-stakes speaking situation. Layer 1. The goal before a high-stakes speaking situation is simple. Lower your baseline arousal before you get there. Don't walk in already at a 7 out of 10 on the anxiety scale. And here are the 3 most effective pre-situation tools. Tool number 1, diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing is the simplest way to downregulate the stress response. And I mean fast. Even 2 minutes of slow, deep belly breathing measurably reduces cortisol and activates the parasympathetic nervous system. The technique: breathe in slowly through your nose for 4 seconds, feeling your body expand, not your chest. Hold for 2. Exhale slowly through the mouth for 6 counts. Repeat 6 to 8 times. Do this in your car, in the bathroom, before the meeting, on the walk from the parking lot to your meeting. So this is not a trick or a placebo. This is a direct physiological intervention on the exact system that's making speech harder. Tool number 2, voluntary stuttering practice. So this one surprises a lot of people. Voluntary stuttering, intentionally stuttering out words where there's no pressure, is one of the most powerful desensitization tools in stuttering therapy. And here's why. It goes back to the anticipatory loop. The anticipation loop is powered by the fear of stuttering. When you stutter on purpose in a low-stakes situation, you begin to kind of drain that fear. You're showing your nervous system repeatedly that stuttering is survivable, that it's not an emergency. Over time, the anticipatory spike in high-stakes situations becomes smaller because the thing you were dreading has lost some of its charge. Tool number 3, mental rehearsal with acceptance. Most people rehearse high-stakes conversations by imagining them going perfectly, which sets up a binary. Either it goes perfect or it's a failure. So instead, rehearse with acceptance, visualize the conversation, imagine yourself stuttering and continuing. Imagine the block happening and you moving through it calmly, without panic, without abandoning the sentence. You're rehearsing resilience, not perfection. And this is far more useful to walk into a room with. Layer number 2. Even with great preparation, pressure happens. So here's what to do when you're in it. So technique number 1, slow down rate. The first thing that happens under pressure is that the speech rate increases. The brain is like trying to get the words out before the system locks up. This almost always backfires. Faster rates means less breath support, more tension, and a higher chance of blocking. Consciously slowing your rate, even by 15 to 20%, gives your speech motor system more time to coordinate, more time to get in line. It's going to feel uncomfortable at first. It feels like you're speaking in slow motion, you're not. It sounds completely normal to the listener and often sounds better. Technique number 2, soft starts, easy onsets. So rather than driving hard into a difficult word or sound, initiate it gently. Touch the first sound lightly with minimal pressure and let the airflow carry you into the word. We have another video on this channel as to how to use easy onsets inside the app that you can check out. So think of it as the difference between kicking a door down versus, easing it open. The outcome, an open door, is the same, but one requires far more force and has a much higher chance of things going wrong. Practice in low-stakes situations every day until it becomes available to you automatically in high-stakes situations. Technique number 3, cancellation. If you stutter, block, repeat, prolong, and you feel it spiraling, stop. Pause intentionally. Take a breath. And then say the word again, this time with easy onset. This is called cancellation, and it serves 2 purposes. First, it interrupts the momentum of the stutter. Second is the deeper benefit. It signals to your brain and to the room that you're in control. You choose to pause. You are managing the situation, not being managed by it. The listener almost never interrupts this negatively. In fact, deliberate pauses often read as confidence and thoughtfulness. Layer 3, processing and pattern breaking. What you do after a difficult speaking situation matters more than most people realize. Because this is where the anticipatory loop either gets reinforced or gets interrupted. The default pattern is you struggled, you replay the worst moments, you feel shame, you dread the next time even more. Here's the intentional alternative. After every high-stake conversation, run this 3-step debrief. Step 1, name one thing that went well. Not perfectly well. You stayed in the conversation, you used slow rates for part of it, you didn't avoid the situation entirely. Find it and name it. Step number 2, identify one specific technique to try differently next time. It's not judgment, it's just a data point. I rushed the opening on the sentence. Next time I'll take one breath before I start. That's it. And step 3, consciously release it. The conversation is done. It's over. You cannot change it. The only value it has now is the information you extracted from it. Let the rest go. This is not toxic positivity. This is a deliberate nervous system cleanup. You are training your brain to process difficulty without compounding dread. Over time, and this is supported by research on both CBT and speech fluency and interventions, this kind of structured post-event processing measurably reduces anticipatory anxiety. Let me bring this all together. Stuttering gets worse under pressure because of a completely understandable chain of neurological and psychological events. Perceived social threat activates the stress response. The stress response increases muscle tension and reduces motor control. The anticipatory anxiety starts to cascade even before you open your mouth. And without intervention, the cycle compounds. But every link in that chain is a place you can intervene. Diaphragmatic breathing addresses the stress responses directly. Voluntary stuttering drains the anticipatory fear. Slow rates and easy onsets gives your speech motor control what it needs in the moment. Cancellation puts you back in control, and structured post-event processing stops the loop from feeding on itself. None of this is instant. I want to be honest with you about that. These are skills, and skills take practice. But here's what I want you to take from today. The fact that your stuttering gets worse under pressure is not evidence that you're broken or that fluency is impossible for you. It is evidence that your nervous system is doing exactly what nervous systems do, and that with the right tools, you can work with it instead of against it. That's exactly what the Total Fluency app is built around. It's an AI-powered personalized plan that takes your specific stuttering profile, your patterns into account. And it builds you a structured path through all of it. If you want to see how it works, there's a link in the description to start a free 7-day trial. No credit cards required, just your voice and a willingness to start. If this video helped you, please like it. It generally helps us to reach more people. Subscribe and drop us a comment below. And let us know what the hardest of the 5 high-risk situations is for you. I read every single one, and I will see you next week. All right, so once you have downloaded the app, you can launch it from your home screen. And if it's the first time in, you're going to have to create a profile. You're not going to be able to do much until you create your profile. So I'm going to do John Doe. You only really need your first name, but put your last name in here as well. Now, what's really important is your email address, because you're going to get a verification email to this account. So it should be an account that you have access to. So test user at total fluency. Then you select your age, 34 for an example. Select your gender. And here you kind of do a self-assessment on the severity of your stuttering. So if you think you're a mild stutterer, then you would pick mild, moderate, or severe, depending on what you think your stuttering is. I'm going to pick moderate. Do the save profile. Once the profile saved, you get taken to the main screen. But there's one other step you have to take, which if you don't do it now, you can continue using the app, but the next time in, it's going to ask you to record a sample. And this is important because the sample of your reading is used by the AI to analyze your speech and then to customize a program for you. Okay, so now I've gone in and verified my email address. So now I get the next prompt, which is where I need to record a voice sample of my reading so the AI can analyze it.